Awesome. Hello, everyone. Hopefully, by this point, you're getting a little bit comfortable with Illustrator, especially if you've already completed the SpongeBob SquarePants assignment. That said, this is sort of the point where I'm going to let you go off on your own. I don't want to continue hampering your guys' creative juices. I still want to continue showing you tools in Illustrator, though. So at this point, I'm not going to exercise these, but I am going to show you an example of something that I have completed in the past that utilizes those tools. This is one of them. This is a poster series that I did for Starbucks drinks. They're called Starbucks Beverage Blueprints. Try saying that 10 times fast. It's really difficult. But some of the new things that I haven't shown you yet that some of these utilize is they use things like the line tool and the width tool, stroke weights, gradients, opacities, clipping masks, compound paths, some repeats, as well as using a little bit of the blend tool. So some of the things that are happening here, for example, all of this is drawn. You can see it in outline mode here. It's a lot to look at. So I will spare you with that a little bit, but line tool is exactly what it sounds. It's here. This is called a line segment tool. Really, that's just a fancy way to say line tool. If you draw with it, it's going to make a line. You just have to increase the stroke weight, and you can change that stroke weight to whatever you want. You can also really achieve the same result using the pen tool. So either one does exactly the same thing. You can beef up that stroke weight to whatever you want. So for example, I have one of those here in black. All of these right here are made with strokes. So those are just some things to pay attention to. I'm going to change the color of this so that we can see it a little bit better on that gray background. There we go. Let's make it white. Something that I really want to tell you guys about strokes, though, is you can come to this stroke menu. If you can't find it, go to Window, scroll down here to Stroke, and just select that. There's a lot of different options that you can do with strokes. You can change the end caps. Notice here how the end caps are perfectly flat. You can make those round, or you can make them flat that project out just beyond a little bit of the anchor point, just slightly. Frankly, this one I don't need all that often. You'll probably need the flat cap or the rounded cap more often. I use rounded caps a lot, actually. So watch out for those. Another thing that you could use for strokes is, let's say that this had a corner to it, like that. What I can do here is I can even round out that corner or make it a miter or a beveled joint where it's kind of got a 45-degree angle before it turns or a rounded angle before it turns. So a couple of things to look out for there. And then another thing that you can do even still, let's say that this were actually a closed shape like this. You can actually change whether you want the stroke to be on the inside of the line like this or on the outside of the line like this. Either way is fine. You can also change it to be right in the middle. This is what it is by default. So a couple of things to look out for there. Beyond that, you can also have arrowheads. So there's a couple of options here. If you want it to be a nice big arrow or a little cute arrow, something, maybe it's just a dot at the end. You can even change the scale of that. Let's say I want it to be half that size or maybe even quarter of that size. You can change how big that end piece is. And depending on how you do the end cap, it might change a little bit. So just keep an eye out for that. There you go. You can do a little diamond at the end there. That looks a little funky. You can make it an open arrowhead. You'll have to remove, oh, I see what it's doing. Works a little better in black for this one. Oops. There we go. Ta-da! So there's all kinds of stuff that you can do with strokes. You can also change the profile of that stroke, or if you wanted to, and this kind of leads into our next tool, which is the width tool. You can use this guy. Is it this one? Yep. You can use this right here to sort of make your own profile. If you want the stroke to have a different weight all throughout, there are some applications for this, but you can effectively make your stroke weight whatever size you want. So all kinds of stuff that you can do there. All right, another thing that I want to show you guys is gradients. As you can see over here, I have quite a bit of gradients going on actually. The background is gradiated from black to green. These strokes are gradiated from side to side. They kind of go from a soft, translucent or transparent or transparent white into a more solid white. That is also considered to be an gradient. But I'm combining gradients and opacities here. So if we come up to my gradient, you can see that I have it set from white to nothing. And when we look at this a little bit closer, you can kind of see how it's made up, right? Actually, I have this as a fill because I've outlined these strokes. But if I were to change this, let's say to black, you get a totally different feel. And here I have my opacity set to 25. If I set that to 100, again, totally different feel there, right? So gradients, totally an option. You can have transparent gradients. You can have full color gradients. You can have multiple points along this gradient. If you wanted to add a black in there, you could. Let's change this to 100%. That's sort of what that gradient looks like there. Again, just all kinds of stuff you can do. You can change the positioning of the gradient. You can do all kinds of stuff. So again, not necessarily showing you where to use it, but I want you to know the tools that you have at your disposal at this point. And realistically, what you guys are going to be making for this particular assignment are infographics. You're going to create an 11 by 17 poster, whether it's horizontal or vertical, I don't particularly care. But I want you guys to create an infographic. Go and find some data that you can convert into a visual and use that to tell an interesting visual story. Another tool that I want to show you guys in Illustrator is what's called a compound path. So let's say that I wanted to effectively put a shape inside of a shape. Right? I wanted to kind of the best way to do it is, let's say that you have an illustration like these guys here. I'm actually going to do something. There we go. So notice how I had to click into there a couple of times. That's because I'm using compound paths. So let's start here. So notice how I just took those white dots out. If I put them back in, see up here how I'm inside of a clipping group? That's because I've double clicked. And the way that you can set that up is, let's say that I've got, say I've got a background. I'm going to make that my green. And let's say that it extends. I've got these dots here. So these dots are kind of extending beyond my background, but that's okay. I want there to be a little bit of an extension outside of it because I want to be able to sort of use these dots for anything, not just what I'm making here. What I can do is I can paste that shape over the top, hit Command 7. And what that did is it kind of cropped it within that shape. All those dots are still there, but you can't see them because they're inside of a clipping mask. So I can also delete it. Another way to go about that would be select the shape, select the object, come down here to object. Hang on, gotta find it. Clipping mask, make. See, I had it backwards. So it's important to know which shape you want to crop. Put that on top, select, and then object, clipping mask, make. There we go. So that is a clipping mask. Now I want to show you what's called a compound path. Let's say I'm going to use text for this. So here I've got an 8, right? Let's say that I wanted to cut that 8 out of that background. That is called a compound path. What I've done is I've taken that 8 and I put it over the background, selected both, Command 8 in order to make that compound path. The other way that you can do that is object, compound path, make. And essentially what it's doing is it's keeping both of these paths active. If I move this around, it looks like it's cut through the shape, but it's actually not. What it's doing is it's seeing through the shape, but you're still able to edit this. It's not quite like using a Pathfinder tool, but you still get all of the sort of transparent benefits of using something kind of like a Pathfinder, but it gives you the editability that you might still need. So some niche tools that I'm sharing here, but they can still come in really handy at certain times, depending on when you're using them. Another one, I've obviously used this pretty extensively here, is the repeat tool. Let me copy this. I'm going to move that over here. Let me make sure of something here. Repeat. So there, I've repeated it radially. It's again, another one of these niche tools you're probably going to need very, very little of. But another one that you could try is not just repeat, but where is it? Blend. Oops. There we go. Yeah, I did it. So there, what it did was it took the beginning and the end that I had set up, just like this, and then it put an even amount of steps in between there. So if I go back and go Object, Blend, Blend Options, I can specify how many steps I want it to take. So there I have it at 8. What if I want it to be 30? Hit OK. Object, Blend, Make. Now we've got 30 steps, right? So you can use these tools to make very, very quick movements. They may not always be precise or exactly what you want, but here it did a pretty decent job, right? I had to go in and relayer these, but from here I can go Object and then Blend, Expand, and now each of these are individual shapes that I can now move around if I wanted to. So again, just another one of those niche tools, but I wanted to share those with you. That way you have them in your tool belt. You can use them as you see fit. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful time. Spend your time making these infographics. Go and find data that matters to you. One of the big things, the reason why I made a Starbucks beverage blueprint was because I was drinking an obnoxious amount of Starbucks back in the day. Now I make my coffee at home, but start with a simple data set, something that you can duplicate potentially. Number of miles you drive to work over the course of a month, I don't know. Use that data to help you do this. Is it a recipe? Is it a timeline or a process? What can you use to make an infographic that shows that data in sort of an interesting and visualized way? Ideally, maybe you don't even need numbers to show the data. It's kind of visual like this, where it's like, all right, there's about, I don't know, 5% vanilla syrup, 15% steamed milk, 10% espresso, some foamy milk. You get the picture, right? So find that data set that works for you. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me on Slack.